All right, let's dive in. Today, we're looking at a brand new technique that could seriously change the entire game of how powerful custom AI gets built. You're going to want to see this. So, let's just kick things off with a huge question. What if that multi-million-dollar price tag for building a new AI model just vanished? What if you didn't need months of supercomputer time, but maybe just a few hours? It sounds wild, I know, but that's the exact shortcut we're going to break down today. Okay, first, to really get why this shortcut is such a big deal, you have to understand the scale of the problem we're talking about. Building a big AI from the ground up isn't just tricky. It's a massive, monumental task that costs a fortune in data, time, and money. The best way to think about it is like this. Every single time a company decides to build a new foundational AI model, it's like they're building a skyscraper from scratch. I mean, they have to dig the foundation, pour all the concrete, and build every single floor beam by beam. It is an unbelievably resource-intensive process. Just look at the raw materials. The biggest models out there are trained on an absolute ocean of data. We are talking over 1 trillion tokens, which are essentially just pieces of words. That's like reading billions upon billions of pages of text. It's just a staggering amount. And the cost of labor? Well, in the world of AI, labor is computation time. We're talking over 1 million hours of processing time on the most powerful, specialized computer chips out there, the GPUs. And that, my friends, translates directly into millions of dollars. It creates this huge barrier to entry for pretty much everyone. But what if there was a shortcut? A way to get that shiny skyscraper without having to build every single floor from the ground up? Well, this is where a new technique from researchers at UT Austin comes into play, and they've got a great name for it: Inheritune. So what is Inheritune? Simply put, it's this super clever recipe for building a smaller, specialized AI. But here's the trick. You inherit the foundational knowledge from a giant model that somebody else already built. You're not starting from zero, you're starting with a massive head start. To really wrap your head around how this works, let's go right back to our skyscraper analogy. Think of Inheritune as getting to build on the shoulders of a giant. Okay, here's how it works. First, you start with a massive, already trained model. That's your pre-built skyscraper. Then, instead of starting on the ground floor, you just inherit its first few layers. Now, these layers are crucial. They contain all the basic knowledge about language, grammar, the fundamentals. That's your solid pre-built foundation. And then, finally, you just build your new, smaller, custom model right on top of that. You're not building the whole building. You're just building the penthouse. And this is the whole point. All that incredibly expensive, time-consuming work of learning the basics of a language, it's already been done for you. You get to jump right in and focus only on the specialized stuff you need, which, as you can imagine, saves a mind-boggling amount of time and resources. So, that all sounds great in theory, right? But does the shortcut actually work? Is this penthouse model really any good? Well, the results are, frankly, they're astonishing. I mean, just look at this comparison. The difference is night and day. On the left, you've got the old way. Enormous amounts of data, huge compute costs, months and months of training. And on the right, with Inheritone, it's a revolution. A tiny fraction of the data, way lower cost, and training time that we measure in hours, not months. How fast are we really talking here? This is the wild part. The researchers trained a very capable 1.5 billion parameter model in less than 12 hours. Let that sink in. 12 hours on a single high-end GPU. That's not a multi-million-dollar corporate project, that's a weekend project. And check out this chart on data efficiency. The Inheritune model, that's the bar on the far left, needed just 1 billion tokens. Now compare that to other models of a similar size like MPT and Pythia. They needed 200 to 300 times more data to get to a similar place. That is just an incredible leap in efficiency. Okay, now let's look at a chart from the actual research paper. See that little blue star right there? That's the Inheritune model. The vertical line is performance, and the horizontal line is how much data it was trained on. You can see it's getting performance that's right up there with, and sometimes even better than, models that were trained on hundreds of billions more tokens. It is literally punching way, way above its weight. And if you want the cold, hard numbers, here they are. On a key test for how factually accurate a model is, the Inheritune model actually scores the highest. And look at the data column. It beats models trained on 200 billion tokens, and even one trained on 1 trillion tokens. That's less data, less cost, for better results. That's the dream. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The researchers themselves say their small model gets almost 90% of the accuracy of a reference model that's twice its size and was trained on way more data. So the key takeaway is you get almost all of the performance for a tiny, tiny fraction of the cost. Okay, so let's pull back. What is the big picture here? What does all this actually mean? Because this is way more than just a clever technical trick. This is something that could fundamentally change who gets to build AI in the first place. By basically tearing down these massive walls of cost and compute power, Inheritune is democratizing AI development. It takes the power to create these incredible models out of the hands of just a few tech giants and puts it into the hands of, well, a much, much bigger community. And just think about the possibilities that this unlocks. We could see a total explosion of innovation from small startups, from university labs, from anywhere. Imagine custom-built AI for specific industries, a model trained by doctors to help spot diseases, or one built by teachers to create personalized lessons. It just opens up this new, more efficient, and way more accessible era of AI for everyone. For years, the power to build these foundational AI models has been locked away, reserved only for those with the deepest pockets. But now, that shortcut is here, and it leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. When anyone with a good idea and a decent computer can build their own custom AI in a weekend, what incredible new things are they going to create?